answer the same question. We all have to make decisions on what work to prioritise. How do you know when something is worth making? Jasmyn, if you'd like to start us.
I can repeat the question. How do I
So how do you make decisions on what work? Like, you have to prioritise, you're probably getting a load of different options coming through. How do you prioritise what work is worth making for you?
I would say I have 3 criteria for myself as a producer. So that it either has to impact a community, a specific community, either has to impact the artist in the sense of like, this is going to platform them, this is going to put them in new spaces, or I have to really resonate with it. Those are kind of like my 3 things. They don't all shows have to tick all 3, so one show might just tick 1, or one show might tick 2, but that's kind of like the thing that I kind of like focus on. My biggest thing is community work, and like to make sure that it is really impactful for a specific community, a specific group, because that's the audience you're making it for. So there's no point me just putting on a show because I don't. Please do never ever email me saying you want me to do your show because you're like, oh, I love for Black Boys, and like, you know, we went to the West End and it got 5 stars. I will just be like, that's cute. Like, I don't produce work for it to be super successful. I produce work because the story is important and who it's for is important. So yeah.
That's a beautiful answer. Does anyone want to chip in, or should we just go straight to me? Go on, Amy.
It's a great answer. I guess similarly, I also have 3. It's a good number. The first thing that I would think about when prioritising a show or a project to work on would be, is there an audience for now that it would really resonate with? Is it a topic that's urgent? Is it something that's happening now that people who it's about really need to see something about like that? So that means that it'll be something that I'm like, right, that one kind of gets pushed to the front because we need to put it on now. The second one would be, I want to work on projects that challenge me artistically, and that when I read a script that I'm like, I don't know, I have no idea how I'm going to stage that, and that's really terrifying and exciting. That's become a recent one for me, where those end up being things that I prioritize and I'm like, that's new. And final one would be financial. If it's something that comes in that will pay me very well and it's imminent, I'll probably take it. I mean, unless it's like values are so like wildly off. Sadly, I'm not at the stage where I wouldn't prioritize that. But that doesn't mean that I don't then also consider other projects. What it means is if I'm like, this one's gonna take a while to lift off the ground, then I just have to think, okay, so what's the other work I can bring in the interim while I put in the time. So I think that's the way I approach projects, is like, how long will this take me to lift?
That's great, thank you. I think it's really important that people talk about the financial implications of taking on work as well, because that is, if you're trying to do this sustainably and as a career, that is something that you do have to, I mean, I would say I also have a rule of 3 when I look at the sort of work I'm going to take on. It's very similar, like, challenge you, exciting people to work with, and also like, financially, is this going to sustain me? Sometimes you're not going to get all 3. Usually if I get 2 out of 3, I'm sort of happy to give it a go. Sam?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything that's been said actually. I think the other thing I would add as well is like, I think because I tend to have to like pull every idea, like no one really comes to me and goes, hey Sam, do you want to direct something? So that conversation's slightly different for me, and it's based in like what I want to start working on. And to answer the question, what was it again?
We all have to make decisions on what work to prioritise. How do you know when something is worth
How do you know when something's worth making? When you get in front of people and they kind of tell you that, I think. So like, I think sorry. No, sorry. Other people. What do you think I said? What did I say?
Maybe that.
I don't know what I said. Anyway, yeah, that like I think R&D is really, really important for me. I think a lot of times I've ended up in rooms. Both of you guys are R&Ds. Like sometimes those projects will finish there. Sometimes like the ones that you think will have a future life don't, and sometimes the projects that you think are just kind of like for you to exercise some like development time end up kind of flying. And like anytime I enter one of those R&D spaces, my first kind of question is like, fundamentally, is this a thing? And like, I don't necessarily always know that question until I get it in front of people. Because I think, I can probably speak for everyone on some level, like you'll often be quite surprised at what will take off. So I think audience response, even if it's invited audience in a work in progress showing, is always really, really important to me. I don't try too hard to ram something that I'm determined to get off the ground. If it ain't getting off the ground, it ain't getting off the ground. I'll just try and, for all those reasons that have been said, right, financial things, apart from anything else, you can't spend that time on something that's not paying you back one way or the other. Yeah.
It's about audience.
It's about audience. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh Lord, for me, it's a bit harder. I feel like as a performer, I try to pick roles where I can be myself and bring myself to it. How I ended up being a writer was because of that reason. I saw roles that I didn't fit, and I was trying to mold myself into certain characters because as an actor, that's what you need to do. But where I wasn't feeling comfortable, where I wasn't feeling, my plus size, fabulous self, where I could be unapologetically myself, was what made me go, okay, I'm gonna write. And that's how my writing journey started. I wanted to write something for myself to perform in, but then realized that the story that I was writing resonated to so many other people who didn't see a plus size, queer, black person as a lead. And that was one thing that was so frustrating, was why can't a plus size person play Romeo? Why can't a queer person play Juliet? Do you get me? And that's how I started my journey. So I think for me, it's creating these spaces where they're not seen on the main stage. And that's what's important to me. I think I answered it.
You answered really well. Thank you. AJ, do you need the question again, or are you good to go? I think I remember the question. I was really like, also I just didn't realise it was you for Black Boys, and I'm really like, I was really high up because it was the only seats I could afford at the time. I think for me, like the thing that means like the most is the people. Like, I don't really give a shit if your show's just gonna be like, if it's like, this is gonna be on the National, I'm like, but do I actually want to work with you? Because I feel like when you work as like a sound designer and a composer, you often end up working crazy hours. Like, if you don't get on with like the director, you're gonna have an awful time. Like, and so I think if it's like people that I already know, and a lot of the time, like when I form collaborations, I will just work with those artists over and over again. Then I'll obviously just be like, yeah, and that's there's something wild about the project, and like, that's, I agree with that. Or it'll be the themes of the work as well. Like, even if it's like, this isn't like, even if it's like a smaller fee, if I'm just like, yeah, I think like, they were saying it's like, if it's urgent, and if I'm just like, this is something that I think really needs to be seen right now, then I'll always like prioritize those projects. And that's sort of, and again, like it's only if you're in positions when you've got loads and loads of stuff coming in, but sometimes I will get a lot of different projects happening at once, and I don't have like an ongoing associate. But that's always it's the people. Yeah, I just want to have really nourishing times with people who are beautiful to work with and that can challenge you in a way that's really uplifting, rather than can you sound design a show in 2 days, which I found I can now. Nourishing is a really nice word to bring into that. Yeah. Nourishing is a really nice way to look at work. Like, what is it feeding you and how are you growing from it? Okay, we're gonna go into some individual questions. Jasmyn, you've done a lot of work bringing new voices to the stage. What is it that you think really makes a project stick for an audience? What is that thing that makes audiences tick?
I think it varies show by show. I think when the artist knows why they're doing it, because I feel like sometimes you watch shows and you're like, they just put that on because like they had money. Instead of it being like, oh no, this story is really important for right now and this is going to impact either this person. Even if like, I've had artists who be like, there's one person who I need to see the show, they have to see it because it's amazing. And for me, that's like, you know exactly why you're putting on the show, you know who it's for. Even if that person is replicated 100,000 different people, you have a reason why you're putting that on. And I think audiences really know when like, I feel like audiences really know when a show's been put on for a specific reason. Like we see so many, like we see in TV and film now where a lot of things are just replicated, or constantly, the same stories done all the time. Whereas I think the beautiful thing about theatre is that it's so individualistic, and it's so much about this person's story, or what this person has experienced, or what they've seen, or all that kind of stuff. And I think audiences can really tell when someone's done it for a reason. So like with the shows that I worked on, I've found that when the writer has come in going, this is why I need this show to happen now, because of this, and this is who it's for, then you can read, then the audience are like, yeah, this show's for me. Even if it's like, you put on a specific, say it's like a black show, for example, but the writer goes, this isn't for black people, this is because I'm trying to inform another community, or this is because I'm trying to inform X, Y, Z. It's really clear. So then that way you go, okay, cool, the audience knows exactly why they're there. And it might be just, you might have black people come to watch that show that like, I'm here to support that writer, even though I know this show's not for me, but I'm here to support that writer. Or there's people like, no, because I need to learn something from this. So I think it does vary, but I think definitely knowing the why is so important. And that's something I tell writers all the time, you have to know why you want to do it. If you're doing it because you want, like I said, the reviews and the awards and all that kind of stuff, then you can do it. It's not that it's not possible, but it's just, it lacks so much like heart and like emotion to it, because you're doing it because you want the reward, not because of the impact. And I'm very much an impact person. Who's the impact in? So yeah.
That's amazing. I think you've just taught everyone a really valuable lesson. Is like, and it is the main, like the biggest pet peeve for a programmer or a producer is to get an email being like, I think my show's for everyone. It's not. It's not. And be specific about it. Like I think the most important thing is like be specific about that audience and like learn who your audience are. And the whole reason we're doing theatre is because there needs to be an audience. It needs to be live and on stage, otherwise we'd be doing something else, we'd be writing a book, we'd be doing a film. Don't make a show for everyone, make a show for someone, right? Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to steal a quote because I do, it's really good and it sticks in my head all the time. But yeah, no, don't make a show for everyone, make a show for someone. I think it's the most important lesson I think you can learn as an early filmmaker is find that audience and work for them, not for everyone, not what you think is going to be a sellout show. Imi, you've worked on everything from device theatre to big commercial works. How does being in those different rooms change the way that you work?
I find devising absolutely terrifying. I did it last week. I have so much respect for theatre makers because I was there like, oh my god, this is terrifying. I think I try not to change who I am in the different rooms because I don't think it's necessarily helpful, or to be like, oh my god, I'm in a big commercial space, I'm gonna be really daunted by it. I try and view it as like same thing as going into rehearsals at Arcola or anything, or a community project. It's like, try and be the same person coming in. I think as a director, you have a really strange thing at this stage and at later stages where you direct, you assist, you associate, and you kind of do a dance between all of them. And I think the hardest part of that isn't the scale of the room, it's not the budget, it's not the, I'm working on like Phantom of the Opera, it's the shift in responsibility and status, and like being careful with your ego, because there's something really, really unnerving and strange about going from like leading a room and like being the person people are coming up to and being like super helpful, and then the next time you're maybe supporting the director as an associate or as an assistant. Sometimes you're working out what the director actually wants from you, which will be different from the thing they've said they want from you. And so it's, I think the hard part about it is the constant switching in terms of status, and I guess my biggest advice to anyone who is a director would be like, when you're in those positions where your status shifts and you're in the bigger spaces and your responsibility is slightly different, if you're not being paid attention, which sometimes you won't be, like try and use it as an opportunity to chat to the lighting designer or sound designer, or try and use it as an opportunity to learn from someone who will be really established. It's not really the answer to your question.
I think that's a good answer. That's a really good answer. Thank you so much. AJ, I'm going to pop over to you for a minute.
I wasn't expecting that.
So your work comes through a feminist, queer, disabled lens. Has there been a moment where your perspective totally shifted the direction of the project?
I think it's shifted process a lot for me, especially because my health is like, I don't know sometimes how things are going to go on a project, and I think, how do I say this? Working in sound, which kind of goes between like a creative and a technical role a lot of the time, I just cannot count the amount of times I've been treated like shit by male engineers. Who won't talk to me, they will only talk to like some of my colleagues who are like cis men or presenting like as cis men, and or times in which like you're made to work like 12-hour days, longer than that because like set build is taking longer. It happens, but I think just I spent quite a lot of time in my career trying to be a lot more to advocate for myself more and what my needs are, what my access needs are, and also just to try and like challenge that sometimes it has felt across my career that it's just this really like male-dominated environment where people talk to me like I don't know what I'm doing, like I've been doing this for over a decade because I'm older than I look. And so I think just, and I like it's why I have it in my bio and I always talk about it. It's just like I want to lead with the fact that my access needs are really important to how I work, and that I'm always aware of like I always want to be aware of like everyone who's in that space and like their intersectionality and their needs as well. And I just think there's something within design roles and production roles. I think I don't know how the fuck production managers do what they do sometimes, you know. Just trying to be like I think we need to be thinking like within the specific roles that I have, we need to think about access quite a lot because I think sometimes it's forgotten about a bit. Like same with like designers, it's just like no 12-hour days then.
Being an access rider, like it's so important. Like I've worked in shows where somebody had autism and they were so scared to say it, and then you could kind of see that there was things that you were recognizing that I was recognizing, and I was like I had to approach them, which then obviously took them to the side and just like, is there an access thing that we need support with? And they then disclosed that they had autism. And the biggest thing I said was like, just trust that I will support you and trust that I will get the things that you need, but please let me know. But as a producer, it's so difficult when like, I understand how daunting it is if you do have different access. You have to speak on your access needs, but you are so important and you're so vital to the process, that's why you're in that space. So tell your producers, tell your directors, this is the thing that I need. And that's the thing that's going to support you. It doesn't limit you, it doesn't mean that you're less than, it just means you just need additional support, and that is 100% fine. So
yeah.
100%. Like as someone also working as a producer, like our role is to allow artists to do their best work, and we can't be given those tools if you don't tell us everything that we need to know in order to create that space for you. So
they just allow for like communication, I think, and just like makes it like a lot easier. And then theatre is like more further along, like when I work in like other like music environments, they've never seen them before, heard of them. They're like, okay. You can see like sometimes I can see them freaking out when I send it to them, and then like 4 people are emailing me, they're like, oh, and it's just like, okay. Yeah, but you know, perspective they're doing that. You know.
Sam, all of your work, I was going to say so much work, but I was like, all of your work involves collaboration. How do you balance your own voice as a maker with the voices of everyone else in the room?
Yeah, so I think sometimes there's a tendency to see the word collaboration or devising as kind of like value statements, that like a work is inherently better because it's been done in a certain way. And I think particularly when people are starting out, there's often an impetus on them to go, yeah, we're gonna have no director, we're gonna have no writer, we're just gonna all get in a room and vibe, and that's amazing, but it's also terrifying. My sleep paralysis dealing in my ear. It's terrifying. But also, like, I think it's really, really important as well to be honest with yourself when you're in a lead artist capacity about the needs of the project. I think that as long as you're clear with that, there are rooms I've been in where I don't have a fucking clue how we're going to do half of what I want to do, and therefore like that conversation has to be really, really mutual. There's other rooms where I've got a bit more clarity. I think the problem can come when you're not honest with people about how democratic or collaborative something's going to be. And I've been in a lot of rooms that have been led by the people where they've started, and, you know, that classic kind of the sunny uplands of a 2-week R&D with a showing at the end, and it started and everyone's like, just vibe, just write down your life story, just, you know, all the rest of it. And then tech comes around and that fucking director pulls rank and there's a really uncomfortable feeling in the room. And it's like, actually all that work. And I'm gonna work with you. It's like, but,
As someone collaborating with you right now, I'm so interested.
and then you have to be really, you know, and if you want to say from the off, like, yeah, there will be a time when we're going to need to do this. There's going to be a time we need to tighten this up and we're going to need to drive forward a bit more. If you are in that kind of environment, you have, and you want to be collaborative, and you want to do it in an advisory mutual or less hierarchical way, you have to be true to that. I think it can get really toxic when people all of a sudden go, right now I'm putting my big D director hat on, but like that hat on, and you know now I'm a grown up in the room, and all that work we've just done, that was actually a fucking lie. And now you're my actors. And I've been in a lot of rooms where people have been not very careful about those dynamics, and things have slipped into that. So the answer is like you just have to be really, really clear project to project and think about the parameters of it. And actually, often I found the opposite is the case. I've never found it properly kind of like realising my idea. I think because of the structures of UK theatre, I think more often than not I'll be in a room and I'll be having to really repeatedly tell somebody over and over again that I do want them to be involved in creative capacity, because they're going, are you sure? I normally just come in and sound like for 2 days, or whatever, you know, whatever it might be for you, you know. And I'm going, no, I really want you to do that. I really want to give you notes tomorrow. I really want to do these things. It's actually often harder to empower people a lot of the time. So yeah, that would be my answer.
That's a very good answer, thank you, Sam. Manuel, you're about to debut a new play, but you've also been acting in some major productions. What excites you most about creating something that's your own in comparison to stepping into someone else's world?
Okay. What excites me is being on the other side and learning. I think when I went on this adventure, being dyslexic, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna write something, I don't know how I'm gonna put this together, but I'm just going to do it. And, you know, I've had some sleepless nights, I've had some, you know, arguments where I wanna burn down a particular theatre building. But one
That's why we're here today.
I think one thing I've learned is why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I'm speaking for a voice that hasn't had its main platform yet, and it was proven to me when I did a week R&D of the show, and how many people got back to me and was like, I've never seen anything like this, you know, when is it going to happen again? And I was like, it's not going to happen again, because getting this point was hard enough, being an actor, first time writer, and then back then, last year, I was trying to direct the thing. I don't know why I thought I could do that. But it's one of those things where, with no funding, applied for arts funding, they told me no 4 times, and I was like, well, I've got no money for a director, I've got no money for anything, so I'm gonna have to do it myself. Me and my delusional Virgo spirit was like, I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to prove to myself that I can do it. And it's where I've seen myself now, and I think I love being an actor and I love performing in certain roles, but there's only so much Shakespeare you can do, and it's the same stories over and over again. And you know, something was burning inside me to be like, I want to tell new stories. And I think that was, again, the main fire that's burning inside me. And the amount of no's that I still get to this day, I'm gonna make it happen. And I'm excited for this show to happen in November. And for anyone who wants to come and realise why I want to burn down places, but.
So we're going to do a little promotional segment.
Information to be found.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask all of you, thank you so much, I'm going to ask all of you the same question before we go take a little break. What's one collaboration you'd still love to have in your career, however unlikely? That can be like a person that you're obsessed with, it can be like a style of theatre, it can be mixing a genre. What's some sort of collaboration that would make you really excited, that you'd love to have in your career?
I've got a mate at home who's got a PhD in theoretical physics and has never been on stage. And I really want to make a show with him. And I really want to make him feel really uncomfortable. I want it to be about the drama kid and the science boy and just like how the hell we're still friends. Yeah.
That's really good.
I want to see more Greek theatre. I know the National are doing the Bacchae at the moment, but again, I've not seen anything new. And I would love to see a version of like Dionysus and his Maenabs. Maenabs? I don't think I said that right. Did I say it right? Yeah. Okay, girl.
Too bad last, we don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, fair. This is the thing. This is the thing. I would love to see like a gender swapped version where like Dionysus is a female and like all of his followers are like trans or like drag queens, or like obviously his whole thing was, you know, wine, sex and party, and I feel like there's like a club kid version of Greek Shakespeare where, you know, Dionysus is like, this is the world I've created and everyone is free to be whoever they want. And I feel like in that world of, you know, being trans and, you know, being a drag performer, you do live in that world where you want to be free. That's what I would like to see.
Let's talk.
Huh? That's what I like to see.
Collaboration happening.
I have two.
You got both.
I want to do something that people are flying. Like, I just want to produce something where people are just like flying. I don't know how to make it work. I can't remember what show I watched. It was a Jamie Lloyd show. But somebody was just up on like, they were just, I think they were fairy, and they were just, I said, yeah. That's so flipping expensive, and I want to work out that budget. So like, yeah.
That's when you know when you made it, when people fly.
And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I really want to work on like a romantic comedy. Like, I really just want, like, we see so much trauma, there's so much going on in this world, like, I just want to see people in love. Like, I just really want to do a romantic comedy. So if anyone wants to write one, please, let me know. Yeah.
On flying. In the R&D that we did last week, there was a magician, and we had him in for a day, and he's actually in the magic circle. And it was just us talking, like it was meant to be a day where we were learning magic tricks. It was just us for the whole day being like, okay, so tell me more. He's a second generation magician, his dad was a magician. I was obsessed with him. That's not a dad. Yeah. So that's a collaboration I'm currently doing that I'm very excited about. I don't know how it connects to the play, but it's fine. I really want to make a play. I don't know what the collaboration is here. But have you, like, about cranberry farms? If you've ever seen a picture of when a cranberry farm floods, it's like the whole, they flood these bogs and then all the cranberries rise, and it's just this amazing image of like cranberries and these people in like yellow hazmat suits. I don't know what the collaboration is, but I want to yeah. But like one day I want to put that in it. You guys also might, and that's fine. Put it in the show.
Ocean Spray did an advert when that happened.
I'll collab with them.
Yeah.
The first thing I thought of was the Muppets. Because it's exactly like a lot of the work that I've done is like very like quite dark and experimental work, and I just really want to work with the Muppets. Apparently, like every like actor would want to work with the Muppets. I don't know, or like everyone's had the best time, so I want to work with the Muppets. I was also going to say magicians, and then I was like,
I got a guy.
damn you, me. I just love it so much because it's so skilled and it's so like different from anything that I do most of the time, and also like. If you look at me, I've dated quite a lot of magicians, but I just think it's really hard. They're so skilled. I can see something like, I think it's a beautiful place to stop.
All right, we're going to have a little break. When you all come back, I would like you all to sit with someone else that you don't know and introduce yourself and your practice. We're going to take 10 minutes, we're going to come back, think of some questions, because we're going to have a lovely roving mic, and you're all welcome to ask.
Stand up.
Gemma. I'm a screenwriter. I've had my agent since 2021. I'm also a stand-up comedian. I've been doing stand-up for the past 2 years. So come see me do something. I've been a screenwriter for a while, and it's something I studied as well. And this is an open question to anyone. In terms of, I guess, converting to or like moving to like the medium of theatre, what advice would you give? And especially as someone who feels like I don't know anything. Like it's been really helpful to talk to everyone here. Well, not everyone, like 4 people. But yeah, like what advice would you give to like actually learning about this and I guess like making it happen? Because with film and TV, there's so many hoops, and there's lots of hoops with theatre, but it feels so much more instant and accessible. Thank you.
Also, yeah, if we're happy to keep the mic in the audience and just pass it along to the next person, lovely. Also, if you're brave enough to ask a question, you get to promote whatever you've got going on right now. I'm making that call now. Okay, now back to the question.
Advice that I would give, being a first-time theatre writer, is scratch nights really come in handy, especially if you are writing screen but you've not wrote a whole play. Writing 10 minutes or something to get some advice is really good. I know loads of places do scratch nights. Riverside Studio do a really good one, which is like once a month. And then I would say after a scratch night is looking at doing a box office split. There's a lot of venues that do a box office split where you can put on some work for like next to nothing. So even if it's like asking your friends to perform in it, asking someone to be, I remember the first time I did this, I learned how to do sound, I learned how to do lighting, and I did a box office split at the Blue Elephant, which no longer exists because it's closed now, which is sad. But there are other venues like the Red Lion that do a box office split, Riverside Studios do another box office split. And then after that, there are festivals. Camden do a Fringe festival, Brixton House do a Housemates festival. There's others, and I feel like going into that avenue and really learning. I think the one thing is you could do a course, you could do a writing course to learn how to write a play, but I feel like the best experience is getting out there, knowing what works for you, what's your theatre voice, and how you want to see that work come together. Don't necessarily mean you need to follow other people's practitioner advice, because at the end of the day, we're not all going to be William Shakespeare. He did what worked for him. You need to find out what works for you, and that could be however you want it to be. So who knows? You could do a whole play as just you being a stand-up comedian, and that could be the best theatre show ever.
Yeah, it probably will be.
Right answer.
I would say watch loads of theatre. Like find out what things. I think people will say find out what you like. Also find out what you don't like.
Yes.
And it's not because you don't like that writer specifically. It's just like this is just not my taste. So you figuring out what your taste is. Figuring out the thing that like really speaks to you, because that thing that really speaks to you kind of will speak to your writing as well. So it's not necessarily writing the same as somebody else has written a play, but it's just like, oh, I really like when they did that. I don't really like when, I don't know, if there's like more than 5 people in the show. Okay, cool. I know that I want to make it smaller. So there's things that you can kind of like almost like a little tick list for yourself as well. But like so many things. I don't know how old you are, but you look very young. So there's so many things that have like the under. I think now they do under 30, which is fantastic. Yeah. But like the under 30 groups and like
emerging.
Like all the emerging writers and all those kind of things. To watch as much stuff as possible. You can join writers groups as well if you want to. Some are not like as like teaching as like what Ema was saying. Like there's some groups that want to like, teach you how to write, whereas there's some writers groups that are just like you just want a space where you can just do some writing. And word vomit on a page. Like if you have an idea, I wrote a series where like it started from a conversation I was having with somebody. I wrote a script. I literally just word vomited the script, and there was one line in it, and that one line created the whole series. Do you know what I mean? Your first draft is never going to be your final draft. So like just word vomit loads of stuff onto a page. Like my notes page, my notes on my phone, my notes app. is just full of ideas and full of different things. Where I'm like, okay, cool, I'm gonna revisit that idea later on down the line. I'm gonna do that. So as you hear things and you see people having conversations, you might see an argument. You're like, oh, I love that line that he said, or I love that line that they mentioned at that point. Have those moments where you're just picking little pieces to help build the story that you want to build.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I'd also add, like, to sort of take a step back as well. Like, I think a lot of the time, because I've heard people ask that kind of question before. A lot of people come from screen to theatre, and I think like there's always slightly implicitly in it the notion that you don't know what you're doing in some way, or like. And I think like, without being kind of hippy dippy about it, I do think it's also really, really important to bear in mind that like out there right now, there's a huge appetite in the industry for like really idiosyncratic people and like people who are incredibly original and have their own voice, and often totally agree, do all those things, go to the shows, do all of it. But sometimes like also the people that create the most interesting theatre are not necessarily the ones who are like saturated in it. They're sometimes the ones with like a kind of useful naivety about the form, because like a lot of it's new to them. And so I would also say, whilst all those things are definitely the right advice, like also hold on to your own sense of what you are, because your approach, not for being someone who can go, you know, have it all encyclopedia in their head, like your approach will be really, really interesting as it is, and like I'm much more interested in hearing from someone who is slightly newer to the form than someone who's been kind of going to the Royal Court for the last 10 years or any.
I would also add like shadowing is also a really good opportunity as well. And like this, like if you want to learn more about process of like being in the room when people are in like the tech weeks or R&D as well, there's always like opportunities to shadow as well. Drop people an email if you just want to come in and like observe and be in that space as well. And also then you're meeting a lot of people. Like I have people who shadow me specifically on sound, but like lighting designers will have it like just being in the space as well and seeing like what that kind of process could look like could also be good as well.
That's so true as well, actually, because I was going to say that I think also you like working backwards and seeing how things are actually made on the ground, and like what's easy / doable / really interesting but challenging / impossible, like, and like that's exactly it, right? Go and see those spaces, see how people like, because again there's a thing with writers that you sit in a room and you write it and you send it off to someone, and it's like you need to understand the context it's working within, and like if those people are going to hate you for like for demanding the impossible, but sometimes demanding the impossible is fun as well, right? But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, absolutely.
I'm just going to quickly pop in and be like, hello, as the producer of Pleasance. We have a scratch night that is currently open. So if anyone would like to apply for a scratch night, it is great. You walk away with professionally taken photos, feedback from the audience, and a one-to-one conversation with yours truly. That will hopefully be useful. It's also really important to show that we're about to open our applications for Futures Fest, which is a 3-week festival curated by our associate artists. Each artist comes in with a theme for the week, and they curate work that we might not otherwise see. And in that festival, you get 100% of the box office, and as much rehearsal space as we can find for you, conversations with us, and also conversations with those artists who are our associate artists. So those are definitely things to look out for in terms of what opportunities we can provide for you. Thank you very much. Anyone else would like a question? Let's pass on the mic. You can introduce yourself, and if you want to promote anything, go for it.
Yeah, so my name is Abby, my pronouns are she, her. I'm a performance artist, writer, and also human sexuality researcher who kind of folds her research and her personal experiences into her work. I'm also doing a scratch night in Pine House in Deptford on the 30th of October with a load of other disabled artists, being led by Chisnell Dance Space and Tam Reynolds, which you should come to. I'll be testing out work there. But yeah, like the question I've got to ask kind of has got to do with some of the things that I've been talking about here, and just realising that a lot of people are not familiar with any of the themes from my work whatsoever, and I'm introducing people to a lot of new stuff. And so I kind of wanted to ask if anybody up here had any kind of, wanted to talk about or had any stories about like some really unusual or strange or left field pictures that they had for collaborations or for work, and how you reacted to that, how it kind of made you feel, whether it changed anything for you in terms of the way you thought, or like, you know, made you want to research something or look into something, and whether it ended up kind of leading to an actual collaboration, or whether it just kind of informed the way you worked with other people you collaborated with in future.
really like to get Sam to answer this for a minute. On a weird show that we made together, which we thought would go, that we thought was the least commercial show we've ever pitched to anyone.
Yeah, and also it's like niche topic and non-commercial necessarily.
No, but you know what I'm trying to say.
No,
and ended up being.
Yeah,
please.
Yes. Like I think that specificity and personal specificity, like the thing that the again to use the word idiosyncrasy, like the thing that you are interested in, however quote unquote niche it might seem, is
Very agree.
You were right.
will 9 times out of 10 be the thing that artists and more broadly audiences are most attracted to in someone's work, in my experience. And you know, I mean, for instance, like so yeah, I made a show that Ella produced, which was all about a very specific protest that happened at the, am I standing on something? At the London School of Economics in the late 60s, which is not like Broadway fodder necessarily, right? The other thing I would say in terms of that, with regards to like making those kind of shows, like firstly be aware that people are really interested in coming to theatre to learn about something they don't know about, and secondly let that be part of it. Like let you taking, like, because I think it's a really valuable thing to be like, okay, so how do I, you know, the food bank show that I'm doing later in the year, like at CPT, that's one that's basically like, okay, there's this issue called food poverty, but how do we present that in like a way which is theatrically interesting and non-alienating and non-wonky, you know, to an audience. That's part of what theatre's good at doing. So when you said like, I've got this awareness that no one really knows about the things that I know about, it's like that's the most attractive and appealing pitch I could possibly imagine. It's like, tell me about them then. If I can get on stage, tell me about them. Yeah. Not quite sure if that answers your question, but like, yeah, that would be my response.
Another thing I would add to that is like, there's so much, sometimes people think about just what's going to happen on stage. There's so much wraparound work that you can do around your idea that is just as powerful as the what you're going to do on stage, if that makes sense. So like, say if you wanted to do, I don't know, a show about, I don't know, I didn't have an example in my head when I thought about it. But like, okay, I'll use for Black Boys, for example. As much as people understand the story around the conversations around mental health and obviously conversations around suicide ideations and etc. There was something about Black male mental health that was really specific. So what we then did was did a lot of wraparound around that. We connected to a lot of charities. We made sure that there was a lot of resources around that. There were so many things around it that then, if the play wasn't as informative, there were other stuff to inform people. So there's so much. I think don't limit your creativity to just what you're going to show on stage. There's so many other ways in which you can, like as a producer, if someone goes, this is the show I want to do, but this I want to make sure I do a workshop on this. I want to make sure that I connect with this charity or this group, or because they're going to be the people that I want in my audience. That makes your work really exciting because you know exactly who you're going for. And even if you don't know, you're like, cool, I want to make sure that I have free workshops around the play because I want to make sure that people understand what the story that I'm telling. So you can have a lot of creativity off stage as well as you can have on stage, if that makes sense. And obviously, I know there's things that money and all that stuff comes into play, but it's just other ways to make your pitch more exciting to other places because they're like, oh, you've really thought about why this story is so niche, who it's for, how we can make it really interesting, both on stage and off stage. If that makes sense.
I just wanted to big up Pie House, Love Winter and Tam Reynolds. Did I actually want anything else to add to that? Well, I think we were talking about presenting work even if it's in a way that it might not be like immediately understandable to people. I thought about, I think if that's it, like definitely theatre did a version of 448 Psychosis by Sarah Kane. It was all BSL. I'm not a BSL user, and it was just so powerful that it was like, they're communicating something that I love that I don't know why I'm giving this example, but I just found it so powerful that it was like, watching that performance that was all BSL, and that wasn't something that I could like literally like understand or interpret it, but people want work that is that
you don't have to have a pre-existing interest in a topic. You can be there going, I want to learn about this. I've never heard about about this niche thing before.
I didn't know about the specifics of like mental health for like deaf people, and as was the case with a lot of the audience members, and it's like people want to learn as well. God, that show's good. Yeah.
From as well, I was going to say, so like that's just what I was thinking about as well, like in terms of like as a maker and thinking about it just like from the kind of granular level of that, that's also where like form and content become really useful for you. So it's like, okay, so I've got these things I want to talk about, but they might be quite complicated and quite knotty. So therefore, like your form of delivery there.
Can you break down form and content quickly?
Right. Yeah. Like well, I always say that form is your how and content is your what, right? Like I want to talk about this and I want to use this. I want to, I want to talk about, whatever. Male mental health. I want to use it useful. But there should be a relationship between those two things, and it feels like in the kind of thing you're talking about, like, and indeed the kind of thing I've certainly worked in, the work that I've done is like, the more complicated your form, the more straightforward your content, and like implicitly as well in that, like Full Fair is a really good example of that. It's like, it's kind of, it's thematic stuff is kind of fairly like, straightforward in that sense. It's not ambiguous about what it's about. It's not an intellectual kind of thing, and therefore you can play with form in that way with it. So that's a really exciting journey with that kind of work. I think for you, it's like how do you make that accessible to people?
Thank you so much. Also, everyone look up Pie House, and what are the dates that you're doing it?
It's just the 30th. It's called This Is a Threat. You should come. The other
Great title.
are amazing as well.
Great title. Also, Pie House are brilliant, so everyone goes to that. Does everyone? Yeah. That's. Yeah.
Is that what Chisenale?
Chisenale down the space.
Your name pronouns and something you want to advertise? Any practice, sure, why not?
Hello, my name is Georgina, my pronouns are she, her. I am a writer and a performer, and I'm in a double act, and we do theatre comedy. We're doing Work in Progress next week at the Rosebery Branch, 1st of October, 7pm. Thank you very much. The question that I have, and I think, Jasmyn, it's something you kind of like picked up on, but it's like, how do you really professionally like slip into someone's DMs and say, in the context of like somebody emailed you and they were like, yeah, I want to work with you because you've made 5-star shows, but like when you're someone who's maybe like at a level, you're working around here, but then there's someone up here and you're like, we're not ready to work together yet, but I would love to just talk to you, kind of like we've had the opportunity to do tonight, which has been amazing. To all of you, like a question of how do you do that? How does it work? Have you done it to someone else, and has it really worked?
That's a good question. I would say, avoid sticking to people's DMs. But if you can get their email, do emails. If you're gonna slip into the DM, say, "Can I have your email?" Yeah. Don't try to have a conversation via the DMs. Because you're like, this is my personal space. So if you want to do that, go, sorry, I couldn't find your email. Is it possible if you send an email? I just would love to have a chat with you. Because then I'm like, okay, cool. I know you want to talk to me about work. Where someone slips into your DMs, I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes people are weird. I think know exactly why you want to talk to that person. I think sometimes people will reach out. I'll use myself as an example. Someone will reach out to me, but that's just because they've seen that I produce like this show, that show, this show. But I'm like, but why me? Why do you want to talk to me? Because my work, yes, speaks for how the work that I put on or the practice that I do. But what is it about Jasmyn Fisher-Ryner that you want to have a conversation with me? And I think that's the thing you want. Obviously, you won't know that without talking to them. But if you're looking at their work, you're like, okay, this is the type of work that you do. I love that you're interested in these types of things. So then I'm knowing, for me, I'm like, you're looking at my practice and you're looking at what I do, and that's kind of informed like a viewpoint of who I am, which is something that's great. Instead of you just going, I saw you did the show and I want to talk to you because that's the thing I want to do as well. And it's like, okay, well, I can talk to any producer and say, you did the show, I want to talk to you about it. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of figuring out like why you want to talk to that person. Even if you just say, I've seen you done a few things, I would really love to get to know you. Then I'm like, okay, you actually genuinely want to develop a professional relationship with each other, that type of thing. When I reach out to people, I guess I just do that research. So I'm like, okay, there's a few commercial producers that I'm really interested in working with. So I'll look at the work that they've done. I'll look at the collaborations that they've done with other people, the things that they really are excited about. If they've done any interviews, I see what interviews they've done. Kind of like, you're kind of stalking them, in all honesty, because you kind of have to. You like, I don't know you, I need to get to know you, but I want to make sure when I speak to you, I'm coming across in a way that I am interested in who you are and interested in the work that you do, not just interested in your success. I think that's the thing that gets frustrating. When someone's just interested in your success, then you're like, you don't then care about the work that I'm doing, you just care about the caliber of what my work is. Then I'm like, then you're just, all you want is success, and I can't give you that. Because I can't guarantee, I'm a producer, I do the best that I can, but I can't guarantee you're going to get 5 stars. I can't guarantee you're going to get an Olivier. So you want to look at why I'm doing the work I'm doing, what the type of work that I'm doing, if that makes sense. But have the balls, like just reach out to people. I know someone, I was speaking to an amazing writer called Ajani Salmon, who has written and executive produced on June Was Black. And he said that there was a young person who reached out to him, like, I feel like every month. I was just like, I'd love to work with you, you're really great, I'm really interested in what you do, And then they needed an assistant, and he remembered that person, and he reached back out to them and was like, look, are you still interested in working with me? So sometimes you do have to be consistent with people, and like, even if someone doesn't reply to you, for me, 9 times out of 10 it's because I've got 100 emails, and I'm like, I will reply to you maybe like 3 months later, just because right now we're in a really busy period, but people will reach back out to you, and if they don't, it's just maybe you want them to work together. Like, I'm very much a firm believer of like, what's meant to be for me will be for me type of thing. So sometimes you reach out to someone and then they get back to you 2 years later and you're like, oh my gosh, yay. So yeah, but I guess my biggest thing is just know why you want to talk to that someone. If it's just because they're successful, people can read that. Like, I hate networking, I'm so sorry. I know you're meant to do it as a producer and it sucks. But people know when you're trying to get something from them, and people know when you're generally interested in who they are. So know why you want to talk to that person and why they're interested and like what interests you about the work that they do. But yeah, have the balls though, because like you're so good at what you're doing, and the reason you talk to that person is because you also want to grow and you're inspired by them. So yeah, just reach out to them. I hope that helps. If you want to reach out to me, you can. Don't worry. Don't give it to my DMs. I'll give you my email address.
I feel like I'd add on to that then sometimes it's good to like not necessarily come with an immediate ask. Like, I am coming to you because I am pitching this specific thing, because that makes people feel on the spot, and it might naturally arise in a conversation. I think if you are coming with like, listen, I know that you work a lot on adaptations, I'm really interested in them and I'd love to pick your brains on them, then it's immediately like a much nicer conversation for them to go into, because it's like, yeah, I'm talking about the thing that I want to do, I'm talking about the art, and like that's exciting to me. So I think where I've had successful conversations, it's not where I've gone and be like, hi, I want to work with you, please can we work together. It's like, oh, I love this show, like, can I chat to you about it? And let's just have a creative chat. And coming from that place, that's how you begin to build relationships.
That's what I was thinking as well. It's just like, and exactly what you were saying as well. It's like finding what are those points of connection, and it can just be like, I saw the show, I loved it, this speaks to my work in this way, and yeah, that really like open-ended thing as well. I've done it with directors before. I think directors quite like talking to sound designers as well, because they're like, I don't do this. Or I'll be like, because I saw this show and I love the way that you work with design and scenography, and like, how does that work for you as a director? Or if people get in touch with me about stuff, which will often be like earlier career, like sound designers and composers and musicians, and I'm just like, we're peers. Like, in what world are we not peers? I don't give a shit that you've done a show. It's like we work in the same industry.
Yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, people are your peers. They're not like above you or anything like that. I have no time for that. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah.
I'd also just say, if you're approaching a producer, like, make it sexy. Don't ask them to get you money. That's like a really sad email to get. It's like, hey, I'd really love to work with you on this. I'm really looking for someone who can raise me. It's like, that's sad. You don't think of me anything like money. So that, and also just say quickly, like, I got my start in producing by DMing a producer I knew off Twitter and paying them 50 quid to go on Zoom and teach me how to write Arts Council applications. And that's how I began my journey in producing. People are only ever going to find it flattering. Even if they don't have the time to do it, they're going to be like, that made me feel good. Like, that's a nice thing to receive. And I really encourage you all, if there are people you admire, if there's work you've been to see, look down that creative list and see who's on it. And the worst thing you could do is like message someone and ask for a coffee and then say they're too busy. No one's ever going to find that insulting. They're going to be like, yeah, I would, if you want to buy me a coffee and have a chat for an hour, sure, why not? I really encourage you to be cheeky, because I think that's how probably the majority of us have done all right. By taking that to heart.
And if someone hasn't replied to my emails when I see them at a party, I'll be like, hello. So I'm getting more aggressive if you see that. It's like, remember when you said you were going to get a coffee with me? And then I'll be like, oh shit.
I think as well, just have confidence, have the confidence to know that I'm reaching out to this person for a reason. Do you know what I mean? You are, all of you guys are so incredible at the work that you're doing, because you're here and you want to build on your knowledge and you want to develop yourself and you want to collaborate. So don't always go this way, go this way. People always say collaborate across, because you don't know who's going to be the next or the next. And it's not that you necessarily collaborate with them because they're going to be the next, but you just don't know what people are doing, who's going to be the next step into their career. And you want to make sure, I have a network of people that I go to, where if I know I need a director, I'm like, cool, I know this person. People have their networks, people have their favorites. It sucks, but you kind of build, and it doesn't mean that your favorites don't shift, or your networks will continue to grow as you develop in your career, but work with each other. Don't always think, I need to go talk to Jamie Lloyd because he's going to be, no, he's so busy. He's so busy. Talk to people who are across you, because they are the people who are going to build with you, who are going to grow with you, who are going to develop with you. That is so important, that is so vital. Don't always look up. You can meet with those people for chats here and there, but the people across are the people who are going to be working with you in your career. And that's your network. That's the people who are going to speak on your behalf. I've had interviews where someone's like, yeah, and then I spoke to this person, they keep saying that you're great, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know you were talking about me, because my network is this way, not just this way.
Hands up, questions.
Hi, my name's Nelly, and I'm a writer and actor, and I run a theatre company called Sanitize, and we don't have anything specific to cover right now, but in response to the first person that asked the question, funding dependent, so I don't know if everyone knows, but ACE is down. We will be hopefully doing a sort of supported development program for emerging theatre writers here.
One of our lovely Pleasance associates.
So watch out for that, because that would be one of the ways that you can start getting things started. My question is I think I've been to a few of these things, and when I'm kind of getting advice of my career and how to be a theatre maker, it's very often around the practicalities of it and how to get stuff on and how do you advance and all that stuff. But I think this year in particular, I've started this company, we've done lots of things, and I've really grown my skills in writing ACE applications and all that stuff, but all that stuff presumes that you have this really good product ready to go. And I have had other good products, but it's a complicated way of saying I've got writer's block. But then you're worried that you're not making these moves and constantly trying to get work on, and if you're not getting work on, then are people going to remember who you are, and you've got to keep going. But then you're listening to interviews with Jez Butterworth, who says it takes 15 years to write a play, and what am I going to just keep working with Catherine? It's really hard. So yeah, kind of whilst this world is going on and all you want to do is be making art and being able to say that that's your job, and doing things that might actually get you paid one day, how do you then balance that with feeling like the actual creativity is not dried up but just causing you some problems, and do you take time off or do you leave it for a bit? And yeah, so it's kind of a complicated question.
See, it's hard because I'm delusional. And I know exactly where you're coming from about trying to be present, again, trying to be a performer, trying to be a writer. I try to be a director, I try to be a producer, and I think one thing that I'm learning is being a creative. So often we have to title things and say, you know, I'm an actor, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm a writer, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm a director, that's what I'm gonna do. But one thing that I'm learning is you could just be a creative, and you don't always have to necessarily be in the art form, but surrounding it also. So one thing that I'm finding out about myself that, you know, might help to you is that when I am having these downtimes of not acting or not writing or not putting on work, I like to surround myself around it. So even if it's like going to talks like this, I've been watching documentaries, I've been listening to music. Again, I'm not looking to write a musical anytime soon, but doing something different that, you know, might spark me to write another play or, you know, putting pen to paper. And I think it's just finding what burns for you, I think is the most important thing. And again, if you do have those, you know, dark periods where nothing is happening, try something new. If you want to go to pottery, I'll go pottery with you. You get me? You can. I think it's knowing that, you know, art form comes in different shapes and sizes, and it's not necessarily one form. And again, I went on holiday for 3 weeks, and I was so worried. I was like telling my agent, I was just like, don't send me no auditions. I need a moment to break. And I went to Disney World, and I was a big kid. And when I was there, I was like, gosh, the passion is growing, because it was a form of escaping that I didn't know I needed. And again, it just made me go, cool, when I came back yesterday, I'm gonna be on fire. And like starting the week off with this beautiful panel, hearing all of these stories is like, okay, cool, I needed that break, because this is where I'm gonna be able to give back. So I feel like, you know, living the uncomfortability of knowing that, okay, cool, nothing's not there, but then always know you can shift it to something else.
That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going away tomorrow for like a month, so.
You better get it! Very much that.
Where are you going?
I'm going to go, my brother's in Wales, and we sometimes make music, exactly what you said, like trying different art form to really get. So actually, you know what, I didn't mean to ask the question.
No, and enjoy. And I feel like, you know, I think one thing we don't practice is to be present. We're always thinking of the future, and we're never enjoying our surroundings. So my advice to you is go, enjoy, and I can't wait to see the fire that you're going to come back with.
I just want to say I'm really glad that you asked that question, because I think it's something that a lot of people feel. I don't necessarily have an answer or a solve for you, but it's definitely something I felt across my career, is that you put so much effort into getting something on that becomes the thing. That by the time you actually end up in rehearsals, you're like, oh yeah, there's a play. Oh, I forgot that's what this is about. And I think it's great that you're thinking about these things, and that's not an answer, but it's still something I struggle with. And I think you're completely right that it's that thing of just like forgiving yourself for being like, actually the best thing I can do for my practice is switching off. I've started doing football. I'm terrible at sports. But it's something that's like, for an hour a week, brain switch off, and I'm so much happier. Exercise is good. But like, it's like those things do fuel you too, and I think we're so taught that like, you're not working and thinking about the next project, then you're not in it. You're still in the industry.
Yeah.
There's no point at which you suddenly get a card that's in the industry. There's no point.
Did you not get yours?
There's no point at which you suddenly get like something which is like, this is now your job.
Yeah.
And like for some people maybe that's like a first invoice or whatever. I had a first invoice. I still am like, am I in the industry? You know, that doesn't go, but like what can change is the way that you approach it. And it sounds like you're already doing that.
It's really hard as well, like, because I think that I was doing a workshop recently about like making political theatre, and like we were talking about the fact that like you know, we all sat there going like, what does it mean to be a theatre artist in 2025? And it's like, well, you don't sit there and go like, what does it mean to be a baker in 2025? What does it mean to be a heart surgeon in 2025? You know, and it's like our sense of ourselves is so fucking wrapped up with our jobs. And other than saying don't be so hard on yourself, and there sounds so many shoulds in your question, which just that's all in your head, do you know what I mean? And like, without being like, let's overthrow capitalism and have a better, do you know what I mean? Like that's the maddening thing about it all, though. Like, we can't, you know, there's only so much we can take on as people, you know, and sometimes, yeah, just absolutely giving yourself a break and not thinking too much about like, well, yeah, if we could totally restructure funding models in this country, then yeah, we'd all be a lot happier, but like, that's not your problem, and that's not your fault, do you know what I mean? Like, it is just fucking hard sometimes.
And I think, like you were saying, in terms of now I'm getting deep as well. I think like so much, like we do like build a lot of our identities around our work. Like I remember over COVID, and I had like I always try and like plan out my like years on the wall. I have all these post-it notes being like, is this project, this project, this project, and then the pandemic hit and taking all of those down. And obviously there was the financial part of that as well. That was a huge part of that as well, and then being like, I have no fucking work at all. But sorry, I swear all the time, I realise. But it was more that I was just like, what does it mean when I'm not an artist? And I was like, that's a stupid question to be asking myself, or like why. And there's the whole thing about your productivity is your worth as well, right? And I have to take long periods of time off for my health sometimes, and it's like, and we do sort of fetishize busyness, I suppose, and be like, what show are you doing? I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And it's like, obviously there is the financial part of like, if you're working a lot, hopefully you're getting paid enough for it. A lot of the time we aren't, but being able to take things slow, exactly like you were saying, take time, do something else, and also just on a writer's block. Again, now I'm a composer, I schedule myself 2 to 3 days at the start of each project to cry. Because I know that first day, banging my head against the wall, being like, you are terrible at your job, and then like first 2 days I know it's gonna happen. Third day maybe I'll come back to what I did the day before, and I'm like, actually it's not that bad. But don't be afraid to schedule yourself time to cry. There you go. I'm gonna do that.
It's great. Another thing I would say is that a thing that I've been trying to do recently is like when I ask people how they are, especially if they're a filmmaker, they're like, oh yeah, I'm great because I'm doing da. I said, no. Yeah. How are you outside of work? How are you outside of work? And sometimes you need to see yourself outside of work, because you are a human being before you are a filmmaker. You are who you are before. Do you know what I mean? You need to be able to separate yourself. Also, you have to take. This is for everybody. I learned the hardest way. If you do not take a break and you work 7 days a week for like 4 months, your body will take a break for you. 100%. I'm gonna be so real. I learned the hardest way. I had to pause because my body was like, yeah, you don't. I paused. Are you alright? Are you alright? Like, you know.
So I just have to try to say my boss has sat up in there and just pointed at me.
You know what? Last minute, especially as like I can only speak from a producer side of things. You're like, like you're so switched on all the time, like, and I think that's for everybody. Actually, regardless of your role, you're so switched on because you're like, this is my work, this is the thing I have to do. Like your body's like, whoa, like you haven't drank any water, you haven't eaten in like 7 hours. Like, what are you doing? So giving yourself that time to breathe, because you're like, I actually have to function as a human being. If I'm not functioning as a human being, I cannot do my job. Like literally, like, so this is, everyone please take your breaks, because if you don't do it, your body will take it for you. And that's the way, when your body takes it for you, then you're out. Then you're not getting paid, you're not doing work, because you didn't look after yourself. Like your body is a temple, you have to look after yourself in order to do the work that you want to do. And find stuff that you enjoy outside of work on like a daily basis. Because sometimes I think we get so wrapped around and we're like, okay, and at the end, then I'm going to take a holiday. But find those pockets throughout where you can just like come back to reality. Like me, I love the gym, you know. That's my moment where I'm like, okay, cool. I can spend this hour and a half, 2 hours where I can just not think about anything. Because then I'm like, okay, cool, now I'm ready to go back into doing my emails and like writing my budget and all that kind of stuff. So find your daily thing, find your weekly thing, find your monthly thing, find your yearly thing. That means where you're not working, you're not thinking about work. Even if it means you go to a friend's house to just sit and you just talk fast for like 2 hours and you go back to work. Do whatever you need to do to make sure that you can breathe. Because you want to be good at what you do. The only way you can be good at what you do is if you give yourself you'll give your body the nourishment that it needs in order to do what you need to do.
Yeah, but I'm so glad you're going to Wales. I'm so excited to hear your journey. It sounds amazing.
Thank you so much. Also, if you're not a gym person, it's absolutely fine to like go buy a pastry on Sunday. That is my routine. Is I will wander around the market and I buy some sort of baked good. And that's my Sunday ritual to myself with my weird true crime podcast. That's my gym. That's my meditation. Should we pass the microphone to someone else? Yeah, please, go ahead.
I'm actually going to stand up. Even on the back. Hi, my name's Ellis Winter. I'm an actor by trade as well. I do a lot of things as well, but I wanted to kind of ask, you talk a lot about the creative stuff as well, but I guess since we're talking more about the human side of things as well, how do you manage internally, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of that stuff as well, because obviously then that also affects your work and obviously gives you the ideas and motivations, and also to bounce off of that as well. How do you then sustain that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. How do I, that's a really good question.
Do you know what? The reason I asked that is because I wrote like 9 questions down on my phone when you were speaking earlier, and then I was going through them and I'm like, damn, you're answering every single one of them.
No, that's really
Got to
good.
be able to have the perfect answer.
Yeah, I was like, we're getting.
How do I sustain myself in mentally, emotionally? Okay, first of all, I'm Christian, so like God is like my peace. That's one thing that I always say, God is my peace. So that's how I sustain myself spiritually, just because, yeah. And then I guess I have people who are not, like some of my best friends are not in the industry. So I have people who I can talk to about anything else barring my work. And like finding those people, and I do have also another best friend who is in the industry, finding those moments where you can just sit with someone. And sometimes we don't even talk. I just go to her house and we just sit and the TV's on. And you have those moments where you're like, I just need my brain to be still. So finding those still moments, finding those things that where you can just go, I just don't want to think about anything. And if you have people to do that with, or you can do that by yourself, then just finding those moments of stillness where you're like, cool, I'm just gonna be still and I'm just not gonna think about anything. And if something comes to mind, write down, leave over there. So it's almost like as soon as a thought comes in, you write down the notes. So then that way, like I had a really bad thing where I kept waiting when I was doing for Black Boys. Well, like my to-do list was mental, especially when we were transferring to the West End. And I kept waking up at night, and my brain was just ticking. I had to do this. So I had to actually, whenever I woke up, I'll just write it all down. Even if it didn't, when I looked back, I was like, none of this makes sense. But I wrote it all down, because then I was like, it's out my head. And I think sometimes as creators we go, but if it's in my head, then it's there, and then I'm going well, and then it's keeping me who I am. Get it out your mind. Because as soon as you let it leave you, then you're like, okay, cool, I can revisit this. And giving yourself permission to revisit something instead of having to do something at that point in time is so good for you, because then you can just be like, cool, I don't need to think about this right now. I've had to learn. If someone sends me an email at 10 o'clock, that's hilarious. I'll reply to you tomorrow. I'll actually reply to you tomorrow. Because we get so much and like, oh, I need to respond now, I need to do this now. You don't have to do anything right this second. If someone sends you an email, even if in that point in time you're like, okay, cool, I need to come back to that, that is okay. Because I guarantee you there's people on the other side who will get your email that's like, oh, let me come back to that. And you're not going to chase them up 5 seconds later and be like, you haven't responded to my email. The same way, do you know what I mean? So giving yourself permission to do a lot of things, giving yourself permission to breathe, giving yourself permission to stop, giving yourself, like you're allowed to give yourself permission to do things. Find your moments where if you want to go bake, if you want to do pottery, if you want to go bake, go do it. Do you know what I mean? Find those elements where you're just like, I don't want to think about work. I just want to chill, I just want to relax. Find people you can just be pause with. And it also, if someone says to you, oh, like, what are you doing? And you're just like, I'm not in that space to actually have this conversation about work right now, can we talk about something else? That's giving yourself permission to say, I don't want to think about this right now, I don't want to talk about this right now, let's do something else. So I think with all of those, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, all those things, it's giving yourself permission to do something that means that you don't actually have to be a creative in that moment in time, or you don't have to think about work in that moment in time. Because you have to give yourself grace, and that's something that I feel like as artists we don't do. We don't give ourselves grace to stop, we don't give ourselves grace to breathe, we don't give ourselves grace to go on holiday, other than you man, who are very jealous of going on holiday all the time. But you got to give yourself permission to do things. You don't have to engage in a conversation about work if you're not in that point in time, you don't want to think about it. That's fine. That's okay. I hope that answers your question.
I think I as well to that, like, and this might sound a bit weird to say, but like, you said the word cope, right? And like, I do think like,
It's you. It's you.
I wouldn't have a person. I personally would. I'm just saying.
I think also like you have to sometimes be a bit strategic. Like life's hard. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes you will be going through a crunch period, and like that might be shit. And people in office jobs have the same problem, right? It's about working out the difference between like, is this a fucking horrible month that like is something that I'm prepared for and I'm aware and I've got those kind of strategies in place, like it's going to be over at some point, or is this just a model of how I work, in which case I need to reroute a bit here, right? I think we sometimes get sucked into this thing as artists, particularly like when you're starting out, like it must always be a joyful thing. It's not always going to be joyful, you know, even when it's going quote unquote well, it's not. Sometimes it's really
It's a job.
It's a job, you know. It will be tough and tiring at times, even when it's going well. It's just working out the difference between when that's a pattern and when that's like, okay, I can see this month coming up and it's going to suck a bit.
I spent like so long trying to figure that out because I have like so much mental health stuff that I've been trying to figure out how to do it with work. And there's been practical things like touring and like things when it's just like really look after your piece. But also I think one of the things that I found the most helpful was just like reframing, like a lot of the time it feels like it's the most important thing, the show is the most important thing. It's theatre, no one dies. And someone said that to me once and they're like, no one dies, it's theatre. If the show's a bit late, if my Q lab is like half an hour, like if I need to re-edit something, I would get so stressed by everything. And obviously like a lot of the work and like the themes of work is so important, but like realising that I was pushing myself, and it is theatre. I have friends who work in the NHS and friends like more like, you do a real job, you know what I mean? But it's like, it's never ever work at like pushing yourself beyond. It's like, it is theatre at the end of the day, do you know what I mean? No, I'd say yeah. Someone said to me, they're like, no one dies, and I was like, if you do something with, you know what I mean? So yeah, just never push yourself beyond that. It's never like, the most important thing is your own health and your own like well-being.
Turn off your notifications on your emails.
Oh my god.
Turn off out of office.
Make the decision when you want to see those things.
Yeah.
I have no notifications on my phone. I will
Yeah.
choose when I want to look at that. I think we have time for probably like 2 more questions. Oh gosh. Or wait, maybe.
3 hands up, 3 or 4.
I think it's like 5. Okay, maybe we all take turns. One person responds to each of those questions, then we do more.
And it should be the least appropriate person.
So whoever feels least qualified will answer the question.
Amy, how do you find getting into a carrot?
Yeah, please ask the mic to the nearest person to you. Wait, so everyone who wants to ask a question, raise your hand quickly. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 questions, quick fire. One person answers it. Let's do it.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm a director, producer, plugging new development in Theatre Royal Plymouth for a musical set entirely in the dark. I'm also selling some stuff on Vinted, so check it out. So, in terms of when you're producing or self-producing a project and you are at the in-between, so you're not able to pay people at like full proper rates, but you're not also asking friends for favours, this sort of icky mid-ground, how do you approach people knowing that you can't afford the proper rate, but you're trying to do sort of a step up beyond just pulling favours?
I did a flat fee, so I couldn't pay equity minimum, and I couldn't pay equity minimum. So I did a flat fee. I looked at my budget, that what I could afford, what could I beg, borrow, and steal, and then I said, you know, when I put out the casting breakdown, I said it's a flat fee. It's this much for this how many hours, including overtime. If you want to do it, apply. And if you don't apply. And everyone that applied knew what they were getting themselves into, and it wasn't oh, by the way, you've got the job and it's this. They knew before they applied. Yeah. So yeah, flat fee, and you get a lot of actors who are happy with that. Either being just come out of drama school who want the experience, or people like me who've been in the industry for a while but want to do the project because they're interested in it. I will take a lower fee. So yeah.
Hello, I'm Lizzie. My pronouns are she, her. I'm going to plug a show that our only designer in the room is designing. You can sort of fight me for her. It's called Where Have All Our Women Gone? It's on in October. It's sold out. If you want a ticket, you can come and beg me for one. Yeah, so my question basically was, I forgot my question. This is going really well. Can I pass someone else and try and remember?
Sorry, you did the plug. That's
Yeah, I got the plug. I was really panicked.
No, we can pass on, we can come back.
Can I come back?
Please. Hands up.
So I can try and remember this question.
I'm curious, since you're all experienced, what brings young people to the theater, or people that usually don't go? I'm curious just to see, like...
What brings young people and communities to the theatre? It depends on what the show's about, number one, and it depends on which groups you're going to. So like, there's some there's some theatre groups that I'll be like, no, there's some communities that I'm like, this show is for you, so I'm going to invite you to it. But the biggest thing is about keeping long-lasting relationships. So I might go, my first relationship with them might be, this is a show that I think you'll really like, and then I'll keep inviting them to all the other shows I do, because I don't want them to think that I only invite them to very specific shows that is only about them. So the first instance is, I usually go with, this is a show that I think your group might be interested in, and this is a group that I think your young people will be interested in, and then keeping those relationships throughout all the other projects or shows that I do, to make sure that they don't feel like that I've pigeonholed them into very particular shows just for that.
You're talking about the whole audience. You're talking about the relationship with the whole audience, or that particular group.
There's particular groups.
Okay.
So like I can't have a relationship with the whole audience. That'd be hard. But like if I know, so there's a show that I worked on at the Fringe called Eat the Rich, but maybe not be mates. And
amazing show.
We're about to take it on tour.
First for every award. It
did really well.
It was so good.
Oh, I love it so much. So with that show, Jade Franks, who's my amazing writer/performer, she said that when we go to particular venues, she really wants to target working class communities, because the show is about being working class, and that's who she really wants to have focus on. And also like, she also has a specific, she really wants to go to like young football groups, because she was like, there's a lot of people who she knows that goes to young football groups who are from working class backgrounds and never get invited to theatre, and that's a group that she wants to target. So I go as a producer, okay, cool, these are the groups that we're targeting for this show, this is who we want to bring in. And then what I then do is make sure that any other project I work on, I still invite those same groups to come to. Obviously it depends if they're in Liverpool, Manchester, or London, etc. But it's about building sustainable relationships with them. Also, if there's community groups that I really want to work with and I don't have a show on, I will still reach out to them and be like, this is the type of work that I do, I just want to know if your young people are interested in theatre, if your community is very interested in theatre. If I have a show on, I would love to like invite you guys. So sometimes you can build a relationship before, or you can build a relationship when you have the show ready to go, if that answers your question.
Yeah, thank
you.
Yeah,
nice.
We push back to Lizzie.
I have remembered, sorry. I got the microphone and I panicked. Okay, so my question was about how I feel like the industry can become quite like self-focused. You become like so obsessed with your own practice and what you're doing. And I guess I was very intrigued to know from any of you what you're trying to incorporate in your practice to offer space for other people to try and like move our industry forward and to create space for each other.
Well, I was thinking Sam and I recently did a version of Lessons on Revolution, and we did a rapid creative response that was all, we paid artists to create a visual response to a theatre piece. So we're looking for artists from different disciplines, and we paid them to, it's you! And we paid artists from different disciplines to create rapid creative responses to our show. We got them to come in the first week, watch it, and go away and create something in response to it. And that was really fucking exciting. It's a thing we've done a couple of times, Sam and I own company together.
I get what you're saying, but I don't see it as a self-interested in, like, I don't tend to find myself focusing on myself that much. I think because my skill set is so narrow and I can do one thing adequately, I'm instantly thinking about who else I need, and so 9 times out of 10, like, before there's a word written, I'm having those conversations with people. So yes, absolutely to that. I mean, always try to offer that kind of opportunity out, if and when you can. I mean, that's when funding comes in and you're about
That's a fully ace thing, like.
That's a fully ace thing, but I mean, fundamentally, like, I don't think about it that way. I don't think anyone should really. I mean, I think it's a good thing to try and shake oneself out of if you can, because not saying you feel that way particularly, but just that it is important because. I don't know, it just makes you sound like you're doing fucking kumbaya thing, doesn't it? But like, we can't be here without each other. We couldn't be doing this without. It's a collaborative art form, just at its role, at its centre. So, to me, that's how I see it.
Ultimately, theatre needs an audience. There's no way you can do it on your own.
And also, it's a really nice thing to do as well. Like when you're early on as well, like to think about it. Like, who would be an interesting person for me to work with? Like it's very easy. It's like, okay, great. I'm going to go and I'm going to find myself another white cis man. And we're going to have a fine old time together in a room talking about the things that we both know about, and a white cis hetero writer, for instance. And I very deliberately at points in my career done projects simply to work with somebody and to go, okay, like, what is it if I go and work with a choreographer? What is it if I go and work with a sound artist? Like, what, just to see what it does to your practice apart from anything else. I mean, that's how you grow, I think.
That's how we met Emmanuel. Next question, rapid fire questions. Hands up for the mic.
This is my son.
That's my son.
That's my son.
Jordan, hello. This is working?
Yeah.
My name is Michael. I've moved from New Zealand here 4 months ago, so I've really appreciated learning about the London theatre industry.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I have a non-verbal clowning show called To Be Frank, which is based on Frankenstein's monster, and it has a live guitar. And I'll put that on at some point, To Be Frank. So my question is, I think that in this room, and you guys, we're going to be making the theatre industry for the next 5 years and so on. And I'm just interested in how we'd like it to change. I'm just basically asking, what do we see? What future do we want? I'm just curious, because I've heard tonight, in some ways it's working, in others it's really not. It's a massive question. Sorry.
I was thinking overthrow capitalism, and I just don't think.
Picked up the mic.
Overthrow capitalism.
I think the biggest issue is the lack of funding.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we had funding, arts being down and all of that, if we had the funding to create the work that we want to create, we won't be having this conversation because it'll be accessible to everyone. And do you get me? If I wanted to do a one-man musical about the Teletubbies, I could. But I can't because there's no funding. So it's being in rooms like this where you can network, where you can ask people, okay, cool, how can I start? Or how can I do something with little to no money? And I think it's in 5 years' time, how I would like to see the industry is in fluctuation. Gosh, that word didn't want to come out. More money, basically. In 5 years' time, I would like to see more money. And again, that's coming from myself, who I'm self-funding my own project because I can't rely on anyone else to give it to me. So my acting work goes into my stuff. And if I was a barista, my barista money would go into my project. It's all well sitting here going, well, I'm going to speak to a producer and they're going to do all the hard work and find me the money. You could do it yourself. And the more you pour into what you want to do, the more you'll get out of it.
Before we move on, I'll quickly say, like, Arts Council England needs to take accountability for shutting down project grants for a full month and realising that they stopped artists who have no access to other funding because they are not charities, they're not CICs, they do not have the opportunity to apply for the funding, getting that work on for a month, and it's not fair, and their response has been deeply disappointing.
Yeah, I think they need to realise, I think they sometimes try to pretend they don't know how important they are.
And then the backbone, sure, of the way this country makes work, and especially freelancers and independent artists, and people who are, so that's been a real nightmare, and so hopefully having an arts council that feels like it appreciates its artists more and actually like talks to them and has a relationship with them beyond this sort of like huge monolith of things that we can only just sort of desperately hope to get a glimpse at.
It would also be really, really nice, I think, if venues and freelance artists treat each other with more respect. I think there's a massive wall that's being put up, and I have this conversation with lots of people, whether that's talking to people like yourself or like programmers or whoever it is, that the venues are themselves like representative of the entirety of what is wrong with the industry. And it's very easy when you're not institutionalised and you're on the outside, like I am, to get frustrated at venues. And equally, I'm sure there are conversations you have in the office about artists that we wouldn't want to hear. But like, from my point of view, like try not to build that resentment towards people who are just in positions trying to do their best. That's the end of my sponsored ad from Pleasance Theatre. But you know what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that helps everybody. Yeah.
I'll add Spotlight and TFL.
Is there any more questions in the room?
I'm trying to decide between two. So just to introduce myself, I'm Toby. I just started my own theatre business and looking at taking a show to the Edinburgh Fringe in 2026, which will be very, very exciting. So kind of looking at opportunities. I live in Birmingham and Scratch Nights are pretty non-existent in Birmingham. Which is annoying because the Scratch Nights that I've done in London have been amazing, and the exciting things that I've heard in the room is amazing. I guess the question that I will ask, there is another one, but that's fine. The one I will ask is, we've heard about the creative process and having a good idea and having a good voice to your work and the reason why you are telling that story. How do you balance that need with being preachy on stage? Because it can be very easy to be like, I have this really clear image and I have this desire to tell this story, and then stand in front and go, here is my message, and let me tell you the same message for 30 minutes or an hour.
So that's a sound design.
Make it entertaining, play with form, make it funny. This sounds so obvious, but
put some judges in. Absolutely. Yeah.
These are the things. I mean, I can only speak to like what makes me excited about a script, and I work a lot with work that is, I guess, about the world or about particular communities or particular things that are like relating to what's happening in the world. I'm particularly interested in ways of telling those stories that are unexpected or that shifts, that there's something that changes in form. Maybe it's because of like my personality, I like things that have a kind of awkward humour, and I like things that have entertainment, chuck a dance in. So, you know, if it's already exploring a theme, like audiences aren't stupid, they got that. The more that you can like interrogate that in a way that doesn't go, here's the thing, the more exciting it is for audiences, so just trust them.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think on top of that, I would say, I think going from your first principles, you shouldn't be making, my opinion, sorry, not to be prescriptive, but don't think about it as, this is my message. because your message is one sentence, your message is a paragraph at best. That's not an hour at least of theatre. I, like Amy said, responding to what her tastes are, like, I personally love work where I can see people grappling with those questions in real time, and where like the journey of the work itself is something, like they come into the room with a question, they don't come into the room with an answer. And I think particularly when it comes to political or socially oriented work, that's even more important, because it allows for nuance and it allows for complexity. I've never wanted to go and see the theatre and go to have someone go, this is my politics, deal with it. Do you know what I mean?
I remember the people coming to your work probably agree with you already. So don't like ram it down their throats for an hour, it's not fair. It sucks. So like find a way to be like, I'm aware if you're coming to see a show about this, you probably think similar things to me, but we're going to sit in the space together and talk about it rather than be told off.
Also, how far can you push it the other way?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the thing, like, I'm not doing it right, yeah, fuck it, I am doing a plug. Like the show that I'm doing at Alcoa is about flat earthers, and it's looking at like conspiracy, and it's kind of because we wanted to do something that was looking at like alternative points of view, and there was like the softer version of that kind of conspiracy, but it's looking at, if you know that the audience probably will think the same way as you, how far can you push it without falling into murky? I've been trying to convince myself I'm flat earth for 3 months, but how far can you push it the other way? Because I think immediately then it's interesting drama.
No, do one more. Go on then.
One more thing, I'll just quickly, very quickly add to what Ellie just said. Is on that point about audiences agreeing with you already and pushing it really, really far. What also that means is you end up with a starting point and you go, okay, everyone agrees with me. So given that we're in this part of the Venn diagram, where are the divergences within this part of the Venn diagram, right? And how can I actually push their assumptions, right, about this issue?
Hello, my name's Keaton, pronouns he, him. I'll make it extremely quick and I'll make it a shorter version of it as well, and the plug will be extremely short. I'm a writer and a producer, and I run a production company called Wood and Arrow, and we have a scratch night that I've been running for the last like 6 years on the 30th of October. That's a clash, I'm so sorry. I'm going to steal all the people. And yeah, we'd really love to pack that out. It's a very good event, and hopefully we can help even more artists in the future. It's kind of a producer's question on the table, and the small version of it is, was there a key moment or any key moments where you developed a certain skill for producing that you think is valuable?
That's a really good question. Tell me the question one more time, and I just say everything about the answer.
Was there any key moment like in your journey so far that like you felt, oh, I really learned something there, and that's a key skill for being a producer?
Oh, when we lost our investment for Edinburgh Fringe this year. Oh my gosh. So we had an investment board, and due to circumstances outside their control, they were no longer able to invest in the show. I budgeted the show about 35k. So and we lost that investment in June. We would go to Edinburgh end of July. Yeah. I spent 24 hours just screaming. I was like, Lord, what do I do? What do I do? Talking to my writer, like, oh bro, like I don't know if we're gonna do it. I think for me I had two choices. Either the show goes to Edinburgh or it doesn't. So that at that point I had to make a decision. I spoke to one of my mentors and he was like, yeah, you have to pull the show we don't. And I was like, great, thank you, that helps. I think that was like a really pivotal point in my career for me, especially because like I have my own company. So it's like I wasn't under no fear. Like I was very much, I'm the boss, I'm CEO, and founder, like I'm everything. I think for me, it was at that point where I was like, okay, this can either make or break me, and I refuse for this to break me, so I have to make it work. So there, at that point, I had to go back to, I think I spoke to Pleasance as well. Yeah. Had to go back to my budget. I said, yo guys, we'll have to read it all the way back. So that taught me a lot of money skills of like, there is like the blue sky. My biggest thing is make sure everyone gets paid properly. So that's the thing I didn't shift the most. So I had to shift other places because I have to make sure everyone gets paid properly. So that taught me a lot of like money skills because I had to really tighten the budget. So I got it from 35 down to 28. I was like, okay, cool, we can really bring that down. it also taught me that I had to reach out to people. So I spoke to every commercial producer I knew, and I was like, do you want to invest in the show? Do you want to come on board? Unfortunately, no one could, because at the time frame, a lot of people had shut off doing additional funding. So I was like, okay, cool. My brain went, we're not going to get any additional funding. We set up a GoFundMe, and honestly, by God's grace, like, so many friends and family, friends that I haven't spoken to in years, friends that Jade hadn't spoken to in years, came through. Like, we raised 10 grand in a month. Like, it was honestly crazy. So for me, it was like, I have to let this really push me to a place where like I have to get well. And this is a bit going on to your question, and a bit about what you were saying as well about, I knew this was going to be a tough month. There's going to be no breaks. So I had to go, okay, cool, I've got to knuckle down for this 2 months to make sure the show gets to Edinburgh. And that's just something I had to prepare myself for. So I did all my breathing and all that kind of stuff beforehand and go, okay, cool, Jazz, there's no going outside, there's no talking to anybody, you've got 2 months to get this show to Edinburgh, cool, you have to make that work. So I had to be really strict with myself and really recognise that this is going to be a difficult point in my career right now, and if I want to take the show to the Fringe, I have to make it work. So that was like a really big point for me, and I'm so grateful that we took it to the Fringe because it did it so incredibly well, and I'm like so grateful that the show, and it kind of speaks, me and Jade was having a big chat about it and was like, do you know what, it's just testament, the show's called Eat the Rich. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so testament to what the situation that happened, and we're like, flip me. And people were like, how do you feel? And I was like, do you know what, like, it's such a surreal moment to go from losing, almost not even getting there, to now where we are now, to a place of like the show is so successful, and like it's just So for me, that was I had to learn how to handle my emotions at that point, because I had a riot performing who I also had to look after in that moment in time to go, okay, cool, this is what I'm gonna do to make sure the show gets there. Then there was the money side of things. Then there was the I don't know what I'm doing, so reaching out to people, being really transparent. The emails that I sent was, we lost our funding, can you help? Some people were like, we can't, but just keep me updated. I want to know the next steps. I want to make sure like whatever happens next. So there was certain things that I had to learn in that point, and the biggest thing for me was to learn that I can do it, I'd rather be at a point where an investor pulls out at 35 than an investor pulls out 100k. Do you know what I mean? And I also know if you pull out 100k, I know exactly what I would do in that point in time, because I had to learn on such a small time frame. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's being transparent with the team. Like, I had to be like, guys, I can't pay you all the money up front. I have to do it half at the beginning, half at the end. We have to wait till we get the settlement for some people and all that kind of thing. And me and Jade really had to take a big sacrifice of going, okay, we can't get paid. So Jade got paid half at the beginning, now the second half when we get our settlement, I get paid once that settlement comes through. So it's very much a thing of like just being really transparent with people and being like really aware that this might go completely wrong, but if we're all willing to take the risk, then let's do it. So yeah, I hope that.